Hey everybody, it's Dr. Brian Mann, Texas A&M here. Well, we're going to do a little bit different format for Fad Friday this time because, to be completely candid with you, the mic that I had, it just straight up didn't work, so there was no audio for the video that I recorded the other day. So we're going to talk about all velocity is not the same. We're going to talk about some VBT weightlifting derivatives, and this is an article from Tim Suchomel uh, that actually I was on too, but whatever. So a lot of the stuff with VBT, and man, you know what? Some of it is my fault too. I'm not beyond blame here. But if I move the bar fast, I'm training speed, and that's true to an extent, especially with lesser qualified athletes. But that's not true. Okay, it sounds reasonable, but the question is, what's moving fast? Are you moving fast? Where's the barbell moving fast? And these two things are not the same. This isn't the first study that's ever shown that. I don't want you to think that we're saying it is. This is just another study that is showing there's a difference. Now, the purpose of the study was to compare the barbell velocity and the system velocity. So the barbell velocity is just that. That's the speed of the bar. And then the system velocity is the athlete plus the load. So what is the person's body doing essentially? Now, we did this across different weightlifting derivatives and across a wide range of loads, 20, 40, 60, 80, up to 140% on some exercises. And it was all based back to the hang power clean. That's what all the percentages were based upon. Now, the goal was to give coaches an idea of what should they be working on. Should they need force or will they need velocity? One of the ways to do that is force velocity profiling to know. But that's for another video. So, who and how? It was 14 resistance trained men. They weren't competitive lifters, but they were experienced with it. I believe they were all students of Dr. Suchomel's. I say I believe. I'm going to guess because that's probably what I would have done. The exercises tested: jump shrug, hang high pull, hang power clean, hang clean pull, and counter movement shrug. The jump shrug, pretty easy to explain. Jump up into the air and get the shrug on it. The hang high pull is that we're starting from the hang position and do the shrug and then go all the way up into the high pull. Hang power clean needs no explanation. The hang clean pull is it's another clean pull, right? But it isn't. It's done from the hang. And then we see the counter movement shrug that's really used to overload the movement. Now, the loads again, we're going up every 20%, 20, 40, 60, 80. And then whenever we were on the more forced derivatives, they got up to 140% of their hang clean. Now, one of the key details here that makes this a little different, a little cool, is that we measure the barbell velocity and the system velocity. Okay. Now, we have got to have a critical concept here that the barbell does not equal system velocity. Even on the study that I believe it was Jeff McBride did several years ago, gosh, it might be 15 or 20 by now with the gray in my beard. But they did a deadlift and they found that the limb, the bar, and the body velocity were all different. Pretty insightful, pretty important there. So the barbell can move fast independent of the athlete. I can have my hips move slow, but my arms move it fast. And this is especially true when we're dealing with those pulling derivatives and the ballistic movements. Okay. So this matters depending on who you're training and what adaptation you want. We can't interchange these barbell and system velocities. Now, the big findings is that across all exercises and loads, barbell velocity was always greater than the system velocity. Now, those differences wasn't just, it's a little minuscule. No, they were large effects. They were clinically meaningful and relevant, and they were consistent. It wasn't just a one-off. Now, again, you cannot substitute barbell velocity for system velocity. Now, just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and scroll through this. But long story short, it has to do a lot with displacement. So the jump shrug, you're able to hit a much higher velocity, and part of it is due to the range of motion. You're going through a bigger range of motion. Now, also a transition. Okay. Now, with the transition, that scoop, that bar keeps moving down, but the center of mass of the athlete, it stalls, right? So they're not, both things are not moving at the same time. So the result of that is that we're going to have a barbell velocity that stays high, but our average velocity for the system is going to drop significantly because of the lack of range of motion. Here we have, I believe this was originally from Dr. DeWeese, and Dr. Suchomel had adapted it to be more relevant to the exercises that we did in the study and threw them in to just know, hey, do you want more velocity in? Well, we're going jump shrug. If you're going more force in, we're getting more towards the counter movement shrug or the mid thigh pull. And this is just from Science and Sport that realize that force and velocity they're not the same. Okay, so we're going to have exercises or intensities that could be used to train these different traits. Now, it did turn out that we did have some velocity biased exercises. So if somebody is needing to get faster, you bias them towards velocity. If you, why? Why would it be these exercises of the jump shrug and the hang high pull? Why were they the ones that did that? Why were they the ones that are velocity biased? Well, it's simple. They've got the highest peak barbell velocities. It's a ballistic or semi-ballistic intent. Ballistic meaning that you're jumping and projecting it into the air, and you're getting pretty close to that with a high pull. And it's obvious that you are on the jump shrug. Minimum load tolerance required because you're not using high loads. So when do we use it? Well, we use it whenever we're trying to get into that late phase acceleration. If you look back at the Claire Brady study on hurling, we showed that you squat for your 10, you clean for your 20, and everything else is sprinting. So whenever we have those high velocity power exercises, they are going to be improving that late phase acceleration. That's what they're for. Uh, we're going to want these velocity bias exercises in athletes that are speed dominant, that speed is what we're going to need. And those athletes who are power expression, so they can move fast, but they're weak, right? Not, excuse me, I said that wrong. They can move, they need to move faster than they are strong. Okay, so they're strong enough but they can't express the speed. Think of your athlete that might be the strongest guy on the team, but he cannot jump or sprint to save his life. Well, he can produce force very, very well. He can't express the power that he has because he doesn't have enough time to do it. A squat is not a rate limited activity, but a counter movement jump or sprint absolutely is. Like, what do we mean rate limited? You're only limited to the time that you can put the force into the ground. So that tends to cause problems. Now, if the athlete needs force, we've got our best options here being that counter movement shrug and the hang clean pull. Now, you might think, well, it said mid thigh pull was the heaviest on that other chart. Yeah, we didn't test it in this article, but we know that the loads are definitely heavier. Um, but why are these the best? Because of the loads, right? You can get up to 140% of your hang clean on a counter movement shrug. You can't get 140% of your hang clean on your hang clean, right? You can't do it. So the math doesn't math there. So you have a force overload, and that's a great thing. We're also going to have slower velocities, and it's done by design because of the inverse relationship of force and velocity. Now, when do we use it? That early acceleration, it's whenever their start is not good. If their 5 meter, their 10-meter time isn't great, they struggle getting out of the blocks, this is the exercise that you would want to develop. We're looking more at strength speed as opposed to absolute strength. So those who leak force, they have a hard time getting going. They're going to see their best improvements as a result of these counter movement shrugs. And then we have the Goldilocks exercise, right? The hybrid exercise. The hang power clean was the middle of the force velocity spectrum. Now, we know that technical demands, the being able to catch the movement, uh, can sometimes mask intent. meaning that it's so technical that they can't just unleash and get the force or the velocity into the spectrum. And also, at light loads, technique tends to suffer because you're not forced to have the right sequencing. Now, I want to say that hang clean is a great exercise, a hang power clean, but it's not a magic one, right? A lot of people tend to think that, if they just do hang power clean, everything's going to get better. And unfortunately, that's not the case. One of the key lessons here is that our exercise quality does not mean that we have automatic specificity. I always say the only time that I ever see a bar on a court or field or pitch is whenever I'm the one that put it there. So we got to remember that it doesn't work out that way, right? There is no specificity for a single exercise. Now, with programming, the take home is not X is better than Y. It's not saying jump shrugs are better or counter movement shrugs are better or clean pulls are better. No. The take home is we've got a problem. What is the solution? So try and choose the exercise that matches the problem you're trying to solve. Now, just a practical little cheat sheet, and this isn't, by no means is this perfect, but if your athlete needs max velocity, let's give them a jump shrug. Hey, if they're needing a little bit of strength with that velocity, so it'd be speed strength, let's give them the hang high pull. Man, they're perfectly balanced. They're exactly where you want them, and we just want to keep them that way. Let's give them that hang power clean, that Goldilocks exercise right there in the middle, just right. If they're needing a little bit of force development, let's look at the hang clean pull. The velocities are slower, the loads are heavier than the hang clean. And if we've got to really put that strength into overdrive, give them that counter movement shrug, hard and heavy. So let's look at a couple of real world examples. That fast but soft athlete. It's like, what do you mean fast but soft? Well, they've got great top end speed, but those first couple of steps, it looks like you're running in sand, and then they go over to concrete somehow when they're up at top end speed. The exercise choices that would be best for this individual, because it's the first steps, that rapidly overcoming inertia, that high force demand, or that's what's going to be needed. And we're going to see that, of course, from our study, the counter movement shrug and the heavy hang clean pulls would be the way to go. So they need a higher force capacity. The velocity is already there. They're fast. They're not velocity deficient. They're force deficient. So since force is the limiter, let's get them that exercise. Now, we might have that strong but stiff athlete, or they're super strong and they can get going, but they're awesome in first and second gear, but they can't barely get third and fourth and overdrive. That's a pipe dream. The athlete squats a house and they have poor late for phase acceleration. What are we going to do here? Jump shrugs and hang high pulls, because force is not the issue. It's that force expression, that faster force expression. So we need high velocity exercises to do that. That ballistic intent absolutely matters for this. Now, in conclusion, VBT is not just about moving fast, it's about solving the problem. If you're weak, get stronger. If you're strong and slow, get faster. We need to bias towards force or towards velocity to see improvements. It's not a one size fits all. If everything is fast, then nothing is specific. So we got to make sure that we're trying to improve things appropriately. If you like information like this, of course, come join us in Aggie Land. If you're looking to get a master's degree or a bachelor's degree in strength and conditioning or performance physiology, I would love to have you be a part of this program. The details and the ability to apply are right here on the QR code, so you can go ahead and just put your phone up and click it there if you're on watching YouTube on the computer. If you guys have any questions, feel free to contact me on all social media. It's the same, J. Brian Mann, and my email is jbrianmann@tamu.edu. We'll catch you next time, folks.